Hey guys, Rob and George here with you, aka VHS82 Apostrophe, with yet another episode, man, as we close in very quickly the end of season 2 with episode number 23, entitled Soft Light, which really pertains to the light needed in order to not allow a certain shadow to cast itself, because the shadow in of itself becomes like a black hole, and if you step into the shadow, bye-bye. You're gone, man. And we don't know where you went, but you're gone down into the blackness of the shadow of Dr. Chester Banton. I was thinking Christopher, but that's his associate there at Polarity and Magnetics. Episode number 23, Soft Light, directed by James A. Contner. He's known as a cinematographer who shot films like, got to work with George A. Romero on Monkey Shines, Jaws 3D. Sorry, Will, man. Jaws 3D rules. Nighthawks, that's one that's doesn't get a lot of talk of, that cop thriller. Sylvester Stallone, Rutger Hauer, I think, isn't he the terrorist that they're after? And there's another guy with Sylvester, can't think. Anyways, so cinematographer, a lot of work under him. I think this is his first episode with the X-Files. He will, actually, I might be thinking of Vince Gilligan. I think will also, this is his first one writing. And he will write several more episodes, one being Bad Blood, which is one of the greatest ever. May 5th, 1995, it first drops, and we are but a couple away from the season finale. I think the next one is Our Town, and then Anasazi ends season 2, and we launch into season 3, and things get real. And things do begin to really get real here. And that is relationally between Mulder and X, Stephen Williams. I think this is the first time that X is a little bit more involved in the case at hand. And this is a case that Mulder and Scully are asked to basically give some help, as it's Dana's friend who was a student, I think at school, and so she's a detective, right? Detective Kelly Ryan, played by K-Twa, TWA. Anyways, just thinking. And so she's been given a case, her first case, some disappearances. And so she needs a little help because these are really weird, bizarre disappearances. One involving the main one, the catalyst really that gets her involved, is an associate of Marley Tobacco. Of course, this is the infamous cigarette company, right, in which is associated with cigarette smoking man, right? He's always smoking those Morley cigarettes, which is it's like a stand-in for Marlboro. But tobacco companies do get Richmond, Virginia, is where it takes place. Do get mentioned because of how many people you tend to run into that work for a tobacco company. Apparently, just according to Mulder. Art always does reflect real life, though, at times. So anyways, that catalyst is what we're introduced to right off. And our main character, our main protagonist, who Tony Shalhoub, if that's how you say his name, forgive me if that's not perfect, but he plays Monk on that old TV show Monk, and he is freaking fantastic on this episode. I have to say, he is a standout guest performance. He is the way he carries his character, living under the weight of not knowing what has really happened to him, and so he gets caught. Well, not caught really. Well, I mean, like, he does, but like he's doing experiments involving dark matter at Polarity Magnetics, And we find out that he was involved in a horrific accident. It kind of calls to mind almost, it made me think about Spider-Man 3, I think, with the Sandman incident. Something to that effect in a way. But he gets shot with a heavy dose of, not even sure exactly, it's a particle accelerator, which just bombards him, and just so much so that it burns his own shadow against the wall. But it has, being dark matter, it has done something to him, and you never know, like, his shadow is continually still a part of him, but the question's raised, if he were to die, would the shadow just sort of a wandering black hole, in which would just devour people? And that's never really explained, in terms of inanimate objects. Like, what happens if you throw, a gun down on the shadow or something? Does it just bleed into shadow like our flesh? And I don't know if that's ever really talked about. But so he's had this horrific accident, but he has found a train station in which he pretty much lives 24/7 because of its soft light. And so it's a safe place for him, in a sense, where he can at least control or manage the shadow that is cast. Whereas under regular night, normal circumstances, he can't control it. Who can prevent a shadow from being cast, right? But soft light seems to be the trick, and so it is this it is this train station as connection with the multiple missing people, which really are just collateral damage to him. Like, he's trying to seek help. We find out he's going after particular people, but then those other people are suddenly stepping into his pathway, and as a result become collateral damage to the power of his shadow. And that is like the first opening scene, right? Where you're in a hotel and he's banging on the door trying to get this guy named Morris's attention, his help. Well, the neighbor, who is the rep of, works for Morley Tobacco, at first he ignores it and just lays on this bed. But when Dr. when Banton says that someone has died, he suddenly comes to the door to look through the peephole. As a result, as Banton starts to step back away from the door on the opposite side of the hallway, his shadow creeps in underneath the door on the opposite side. And as a result, our rep for Morley Tobacco just burns into the shadow, leaving a burn mark. And that becomes the real catalyst, the jumping off point, right? And so it's some interesting things. And then eventually, as Mulder and Scully are trying to help Detective Ryan out, of course, they know they have to do this from a distance because, as she says, if her superiors have any inkling that the FBI is involved with this, or she's called the FBI into for help, that's not going to be good for her. So they're trying to do this from an arm's distance, and eventually they do get called on the carpet because they do actually apprehend Dr. Banton, and which leads into this weird place of his worst fears. The government is after him and wants to ascertain him so they can study him and try to utilize, as the government would always do. The government is good for destroying people's lives and just capitalizing on things that might better their might better the military-industrial complex. Because it loves wars and loves to continue the art of war, even though it's insane. These people are just psychotic. What do you want? Truly. And so come to find out, he's more right than he thinks, because someone actually very close to him is going to betray him in the end. And that is quite a revelation, but thankfully X is there to intervene. But then even X has his own plans. But that is a neat relational moment between X and Mulder, in whom Mulder reaches out for help. And there's this issue of, you ought not to contact me unless it's really important. Well, then he does grow interest into this thing, and so X will sort of go on his own and ultimately end up intervening in this situation to ultimately get his hands on Banton. And for obvious, we'll see at the end of the episode. I'm going to give it completely away, although that is pretty much what we get. The point of ascertaining or finding Banton via the use of camera footage from the train station was really interesting, especially in how Mulder sort of picks up on him, using just good old detective work, just irregularities in his character and how he's sitting on the bench and his mannerisms and his movement, and Mulder just sort of picks up on these things, and ultimately very quickly they get hot on the case, and but not without some real personal collateral damage, even a little bit that is close to Scully. It's interesting, but it's definitely one of the it is a highlight of the season first. And there's a fantastic, I was just looking at my notes, fantastic little nod to Toombs when they are looking at the guy from Morley Tobacco. When they're looking at his room, they're trying to figure out who the heck got into this room, all right? Because the door's secure, they had to bang it down. However it is, they got through. The window's locked from the inside. They can't figure out how an assailant might have got into that room. And so Scully's over there eyeing a ventilation little grid thing there near the bottom of the floor. And Ryan is just like, what are you looking at? What's, and she's like, the ventilation, thing. And Ryan's just like, surely you don't think somebody crawled through that. And it's great because Scully's like, well, you never know. And there's this great nod to Toombs, of course, and Squeeze, and that great antagonist of earlier episodes, right? And so that's just great how they nodded to an earlier character in terms of is this are we returning to this, and that just shows you already before season 2 is already even fully in the bag. These two have already been exposed to a number of supernatural occurrences for which defies any real explanation, and so you begin to look for the unexplainable in order to explain what needs to be explained. All right, so Mulder and Scully, and some of the manner, again, Mulder is just so, it's the way he looks sometimes, the way he carries an expression on his face, so awesome, man. It's just freaking awesome. If I said how much I love this show, I'm re-falling in love with this show. And that's the way it ought to be, because, you could be heading towards season 2 and you just be like, you know what? Yeah, I thought I was going to do 11, but it's old. It is not. It's like the reverse for me. It's like, it's just with each passing episode, I fall more and more in love with this. And it's become a minor bit of tradition point now with me and my littlest one, Maximus. Early Sunday mornings, I like that to be my second viewing, at least throughout the week. I like to at least see it 2 times, if not, if I can squeeze a third in, just depends on, right? It's the beauty of TV, though. You're only dealing with an episode that's 45 minutes long, so it's nice. But every Sunday morning now, about 6 o'clock, get my coffee rolling, and we'll come down here to the movie room and turn all the lights off, and we will watch it together. It's becoming neat. It's kind of neat that he's sort of, even at 7, he's sort of experiencing this with me. And so that is really, really, really cool. So anyways, as I wrap this up, great episode, another great one. And Monk, man, what a great actor. What a great freaking actor he is. Good stuff. I don't think there's really anything else. No, that was it. So yeah, so there you go, man. There you go. Anyways, as always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.